Before we dive into today's episode, I just wanted to let you know that the Relationship Clarity Bootcamp is now underway. So I wanted to pop in and add this in before I play this next episode for you because it fell on the Thursday when the bootcamp would already be pretty much done. So I wanted to add this edit in here. I do mention it again in the rest of the episode, I believe. But just so you know, it is starting today and you still have time to jump in. Just head to leannoten.com/Clarity Bootcamp or head to the link in the episode show notes. All right, enjoy today's episode. Welcome to this edition of the Awakening Women podcast. I'm your host, Leanne Oten. And in today's episode, I want to talk to you ladies about how important it is to be in touch with your heart, your vulnerability, and your emotions. So when you have been in a relationship where it's not safe to be in your emotions, and listen, you probably learned this way back in your childhood that it's not safe to express your emotions, so it goes way back. But you're listening to this to get relationship advice, so we're going to use it in the context of your relationship. What you are not seeing is that your relationship pattern is the perfect match for your level of emotional intelligence, your level of emotional awakening. As you start to awaken to your truth, your feelings, understanding that your feelings are valid, that when something doesn't feel good, that it is worth your attention. When you start to awaken to your body signals the symptoms, the signs, the menstrual issues, the migraines, the headaches, the autoimmune disease, all the ways in which that repressed emotions come through to be expressed through the body. When you start to awaken that, things shift really rapidly. Now, what I wish for all of you would be that you have a safe partner that you can be real with, that you can express how you're feeling and have them show care, concern, love, patience, understanding, that they will be quiet and just listen to you, take it in, adjust themselves, do whatever work needs to be done. You come up with agreements and you move on happily together. But I know if you're listening to this, that is not what you're experiencing. And it does stifle our emotional, just our state in general, because you feel like there's nowhere you can go with your feelings. Now you can go to therapy, but a lot of times therapy is limited and sometimes it can make it worse, especially when you're dealing with the complexities of an abusive relationship. And so where do you go from this place then? Where do you go? Well, you need to learn how to set those boundaries, those emotional boundaries, the energetic boundaries. You need to learn how to embody your truth, embody your boundaries, embody your limits, embody your ultimatums, and embody your needs. And then stand unapologetically in those and no longer be willing to sacrifice that for a relationship. And that takes inner work, right? And when I talk about this in my 5 levels of awakening, and by the way, if you want to get access to that free audio, this is a brand new audio I've created. And it's a model that I came up with to explain the different levels that women go through when they're in these relationships. It's specific to these relationships. And I talk about how when women are not at level 5, which is the conviction, that it's near impossible to take any steps forward. So if you want to learn more about that, this gives you some context to go a little deeper into what I'm talking about here, is the levels of work that you need to do in order to get there. Just head to the link in the show notes of this episode, or you can head to leannoten.com/awakening, and it is free. It's my gift to you because I was really excited to get that out there and share it. I actually created that model for my Relationship Clarity Bootcamp that I ran in September, and it got rave reviews, rave feedback, and I had some women continue and choose to continue on in my 30-day program. And so if you want to learn even more, then I suggest you get into the October session of the Relationship Clarity Bootcamp, and that will also be in the show notes. So back to understanding why your emotional reflection, your emotional connection to yourself is so important, is you have to learn like where this all came from, where you aligned with the idea that your emotions don't matter, or that they're too much, or that you're crazy or needy or ridiculous or whatever, because many women deny their feelings to avoid making others uncomfortable. And then in that process, they feel heavy, depressed, and exhausted. They carry that weight. And this is a pattern I have had to work through in my lifetime, is recognizing that I tend to hold things in for far too long. And you tend to do this when you're in an unhealthy situation because you're afraid to bring things up. But you can also carry that into a new relationship down the road if you don't heal that. You don't heal that part of yourself that, well, of course, you have to be in a relationship where it's safe to express. It's really important that you learn to express your truth regardless. And if you're with someone that you cannot do that with safely, and it turns into a blow up, it turns into an argument, it turns into crazy making, head spinning conflict where you don't know your elbow from your knee kind of type of conflict, then yeah, you're going to avoid expressing it. But that doesn't mean that you don't acknowledge it within yourself, that you don't have a way to express it, and maybe you still express it, and you just are not expecting anything back in return from people who can't give it to you. It's still important to get in touch with your truth. This is how you ungaslight yourself. You go deep into yourself. You do the inner work, you do the introspection, you do the journaling, you do the release work, and you get in touch with what is true for you. It doesn't matter if they think your truth is valid, if they think you're making a mountain out of a molehill, if they think you're being too sensitive or ridiculous or intense or problematic or inconvenient. It's you owning that and owning everything I just talked about, your needs and your ultimatums and those deal breakers and your boundaries. Like, you've got to know what those are for you. And where women lose themselves is when we lose touch with that. And we need to get back in touch with that. We need to get back into connection with self, to our relationship to self, so that when something is not feeling right in a relationship, we can stand firm in that and own our truth. We're not going to allow ourselves to be gaslit out of it. We're not going to allow ourselves to be manipulated into another cycle. We eventually start to see things very clearly. And as you're doing this work, you're moving up the scale. You're moving up into the next level of awakening. And again, I'm going to go deeper in. I go deeper into this in the free audio and my boot camp, but it's really eye-opening. And the women that learned about this, was very eye-opening for them to be able to see where they're at. It's nice to have a visual. And I came up with this from my work with women and as well from my own personal experience. I had to really sit with that. And so now I have reconfigured my 30-day End the Cycle program so that each module correlates to one of the levels of awakening, so that you know the work you're supposed to be doing in each level. So this is what happens sometimes when you take a break and step away from something, you get new clarity, right? And I took some time away from teaching the program. I have gone back into, and I'm still refining it, adding some things, removing some things, improving some things, because my goal is really to keep it a 30-day program, because that feels doable for women. It feels like a doable chunk of time. And at this point, I plan to run it in that way with the option to continue on as a monthly coaching membership for women who want to stay. That's my plan right now. But the goal is that you get through the program and get the questions answered that you need to get the clarity, get to conviction, and then develop your exit and safety strategy. And that's the goal of my 30-day program. So it's a self-paced program you get 30 days access to, but you also get access to a Telegram group where you can ask me any questions and I can respond with a text or a chat, like a voice reply. So you're on your own studying it, but you still have access to me. So this just is super exciting to me. I've finally figured out a format that works well for me. And I've had lots of feedback from women over the years that like attending live Zoom calls wasn't always doable. They would have to be doing it from their car or somewhere in hiding, or they work and it was just too hard to get on them with their time zone. And then other women still said they felt too intimidated getting on a live call with such personal subject matter. And so this is right now how I'm doing it so that you can feel comfortable and safe coming into a group. And I'm keeping the groups cohorts smaller. So I will have multiple groups of smaller cohorts, which is the goal as well. So that's where it's at. And that's what you have available to you if you would like support on the other side. So here is something you can do to start bringing more awareness and more consciousness to your emotions is take a pause. So you can do, this is what I recommend to women in my program, though, in my clients, is when you're first starting to learn to get in touch with your emotions. And I've heard this from women many times when I start getting, especially one-on-one clients, where we're really digging deep. They're like, oh, I don't want to go there because I feel like I will break and I won't be able to stop if I start crying or having a breakdown, or I have this vision of me completely like having a breakdown. Like, okay, well, there's probably some intuitive guidance there for you, that it's there for you to access, right? But then women think, oh, I think I've been there. Like, I've been doing this emotional work stuff for a very long time. This is not new to me. But there's always levels, right? And it's more dangerous to not feel it. It's more dangerous to repress it than it is to feel it and move it through. So what you can do is set a timer on your phone, say 3 times a day. Like in the morning, just wake up, check in. How am I feeling? What's the emotion? Sadness, anger, excitement, anxiety. Like, there's 4 core emotions, but just to get in touch with how you're feeling. And then have a reminder go off at lunchtime. Do a check-in. Just have it be like your heart check-in or your body check-in, whatever you want to call it. And then again in the evening. And just start there. That's a big enough step to begin with. And just name it. Name what the feeling is. For some women, that's even difficult to do because it's sometimes hard to know what you're feeling. But and the other thing too that I've seen with women is that they're like, I'm just angry. I'm pissed. I feel rage. And that's a phase too in this process. It's definitely a part of the process of moving through this. However, remembering that anger, while it's valid, it's a secondary emotion typically. It is the armor for those softer, vulnerable feelings, and most often it's the armor for sadness. And so when you can tap into your sadness and just, admit, I feel sad. And you don't even have to know why, because you might not be able to pinpoint why, but just acknowledge, I feel sad. I feel sadness in my heart. And just let those feelings come through, let them move through you and rise up. And then as you start doing this work, you'll notice that a lot more starts to come through. This is the healing journey. So that's what I wanted to share with you in this episode, is just to encourage you to do the work. Like, you're not ready to make a decision about your relationship. Maybe you are at level 4 where you're just on that cusp of conviction, but there's some things there that make you feel like you can't quite take that leap. It just means there's more emotional work for you to do in there. And it could happen quite quickly. It could happen within months. It's happened within 30 days for women that have come into my program, even before they got to the end. So it's all your own timing. Nobody is here to tell you what to do. Only you know what's right for you. But what I can tell you is what you choose to do with it will determine your future. If you choose to embark on this journey and say yes to your awakening, then you are opening that door to getting those answers and getting that clarity. So jump in, grab that audio, save your spot in the bootcamp. Those are some great places to start. All right, I'll talk with you in the next episode. Bye for now.